We've heard a lot, and I mean a lot of stories just in the past 6 months or so of councils in the UK, or more in this case, specifically England, going bankrupt. And this is because of austerity. With rising costs, rising inflation, being told to do more with less, eventually there was always going to come a breaking point at some point where these councils would not be able to do more with less. And that would be actively hurting local services and councils. In particular, Leeds at the moment having to sell off, I think it is the Pudsey auditorium, a very, very old sort of theatre that's existed in there for years. They're also laying off a very large number of council employees because they've got a very large hole to fill. Not only that, but Nottingham as well, also in financial trouble. And like I say, the list just goes on and on and on. And sometimes it's councils not knowing what's coming down the road. The whole leveling up fund, the UK development fund that was sold as the answer and that was going to replace the EU funds turned out not to be that, which, as we said, many councils relied on, and not just councils, but a ton of charities that have also had to close their doors because they have had no longer access to those things. It has been an absolute mess. But today, we're going to have a look at a very other interesting case that is causing the Cheshire East Council to face bankruptcy. Because this isn't something happened to internally in the council or something like that. No, this is actually combining two things that I've been talking about. A council bankruptcy caused by the scrapping of HS2, because Cheshire Council invested over 11 million into this northern leg of HS2. That is now gone. That is now done and dusted. And as a result, they are now facing bankruptcy because Boris Johnson decided to scrap the northern leg of HS2. And Rishi Sunak, well, he's just gone. Might as well just scrap the rest as well. So, as always, thank you very much for watching. And of course, hang on, we haven't even finished yet. Thank you very much to all those people who do help and support the channel. And of course, as always, there is the links down below. There's the Patreon page, the one-off donation link, the Buy Me a Coffee link, etc. All that below, the Pony Club. If you want to help support the channel, it's all down there. You can also support the channel by clicking the like and share button. So, as always, thank you to everyone who does help and support the channel. So, let's crack on then into this to find out more what's going on here. So, this comes from the Eye with the title of Cheshire East Council facing bankruptcy after investing 11 million in scrapped HS2 leg. So, the Cheshire East Council has warned that it may have to declare itself bankrupt due to the government's decision to cancel the northern leg of HS2. The council has spent over 11 million preparing for the high-speed line, including 8.6 million of funding by borrowing. The report from the full council meeting this month said that it would have to write off all this expenditure, including the expensing of 8.6 million through its own revenue accounts. The council has said that it has faced direct and devastating impacts from Rishi Sunak's decision to abandon HS2 north of Birmingham. It is said that these effects were not going to be mitigated by the government's alternative proposals for transport investment in the Northern Network, or as we've called it before, it's the Northern Network suggestions. Ideas for transport infrastructure, some that have already been built, some that have never even left the planning stages, some that have been floated but never even got to a potential planning stage. Hence why I call them the Northern Network suggestions. It is said that because it now has insufficient funds and inadequate reserves, To manage in its year-end expenditure, it could be forced to issue a Section 114 notice. And as I said before, we are seeing these increasingly being gathered at pace, and it is because of the Tory central government that continues to do this, to not invest properly in public services, to not do this. But there you go. So, anyway, it continues, meaning that it is effectively now declaring itself bankrupt and must cease most spending. This announcement also comes after Nottingham Council last month declared it's also self, as we said, effective bankruptcy, effectuating its own ish Section 114 notice after forecasting a 23.4 million budget deficit. So this is just increasing at pace, and it is becoming alarmingly so. Like alarmingly so, these bankruptcy declarations by these councils are becoming more and more frequent. It is becoming almost a weekly occurrence that is either a council is going, well, we might have to issue the Section 114 notice, or we're going to have to start really tightening our belts. We're going to have to start, cutting services, cutting staff, as you're seeing sort of in Leeds, selling off, council property. And it's not just things in the north that this is happening to as well. We've covered councils in the south, Tory led and run councils that are also facing the exact same problems. Even we covered the one from Conservative Home not too long ago, who said, well, we've got to rein in council spending, but my idea to help solve the fact that my Coventry council is probably going to go potentially bankrupt as well, is to get more money from central government, something that he had been arguing that Coventry Council had been asking for, and that was somehow the wrong thing to do. Guess it's not going to work then. Whoopsie daisy. Um, but yeah, this is honestly, it's becoming quite an issue, and I have to wonder how much will this become an issue at the general election? Like, is this going to become like a serious issue? I think it should be. I think Labour should really be making this a central issue. That you've got all these councils going bankrupt, not just Labour ones, but Tory ones as well. And it is because you've had a Tory-led government that is focused on austerity, that has not been funding these systems properly, and has now led to this. You're going to see this increasingly happen, I think, more and more and more. Um, the worry eventually becomes: will there become just a breaking point in like a dam? Does this come from maybe like one or sort of two a month to all of a sudden does there become like a massive flood almost in like a week? I mean, could you imagine for a second how a government would have to react if you've got like 20, 30 councils almost in like within a span of a week or even like a couple of days having to declare Section 114 notices? I worry that's where we're going to get to. I really do worry that's where we're going to get to. And Labour has to go in when it comes in and sort of sort this out. And as I've said multiple times, the idea that they will sort of continue with austerity, as people, as sort of should say, certain people on the left would say, they're going to have to sort of face reality that you're going to have to sort of fund these projects. You're going to have to fund, these systems. You're going to have to actually put money into this. That continuing with austerity is just not going to be an option. And that's why I continually talk about how much progressive we are going to have a more progressive parliament. But of course, as always, we'll see what happens. So, as always, until then, please do remember to click on the like, share, and subscribe button. And of course, down below there are links to my Patreon page and a one-off link called Buy Me Coffee Week. Well, Buy Me Coffee. And of course, as always, thank you very much to those who do help and support the channel that way. And of course, we'll see you all next time.